So welcome friends, what if Naruto fights like Jiraiya movie? Jiraiya no longer had the chakra, energy or left arm to fight Pain in his group. As soon as Jiraiya found out the identity of Pain, Pain stabbed Jiraiya multiple times in the back with his black rods. Jiraiya fell face to the ground and as he laid there near lifeless, he gave one final encrypted message to his friend, Fukasaku. One of his summons, Jiraiya was starting to lose consciousness as he wrote the final number on Fukasaku's back. Pain couldn't bother to see another breath come out of his longtime sensei that he loathed so much. Pain ordered his group to finish Jiraiya once and for all, and that's what they did. They shot a barrage of aerial attacks at Jiraiya and he fell into the open water that had surrounded the scene of the fight. As Jiraiya submerged deeper and deeper into the water, so did his thoughts and flashbacks of his life. The tale of Jiraiya the Gallant. Now it'll end a bit better, I hope. The final chapter, I'll call it. Frog at the bottom of the well drifts off into the great ocean. Jiraiya smiled. Just barely glorious, but glorious indeed. Now I suppose it's about time I put down my pen. Oh, right. What should I name the sequel? I wonder, let's see. The Tale of Naruto Uzumaki. Yes, that has a nice ring to it. As Jiraiya closes his eyes one last time, everything started to become dark. Like a curtain slowly closing, it was dark for a few minutes, but it seemed like an eternity to Jiraiya. He suddenly hears a whisper from afar, but yet so close to his presence and soul. Your time isn't yet. An angelic hand suddenly conjures out of thin air and reaches out to Jiraiya and lightly taps him once on the shoulder. A beam of light slowly glows from the touch from this holy being and everything is submerged in a white glorious light. Jiraiya suddenly wakes up from a hotel bed and starts patting his body frantically to try and find any open wounds or black rods stuck inside his body. To his amusement, he is completely healed. In fact, there were no scars as he thoroughly checked his bare chest and back. And it seemed his left arm had grown back. He then remembers a voice that called out to him, your time isn't yet. He truly wondered who that was, and if it was a goddess, why had she helped him? He sat in bed for a long time, as he was sure he was just dead a few minutes ago. As he came back to reality, he thought to himself that this wasn't the time to sit around and waste precious time. He finally figured out who Pain was and needed to inform Tsunade the Hokage at once. Jiraiya knew exactly which hotel he was at, as he had been to that one multiple times. He was only about a little over half day's travel from the Leaf Village. As he dashed through the trees and branches, he had a random thought. That hotel hasn't looked that new in a long time. They must have renovated it since the last time I visited. As the night grew closer, he decided to set camp and get a few hours of rest. He was still thinking about the fight scene with Pain. Then he remembered that before he left to go fight Pain, he had a conversation with Tsunade. Oh, how much he loved her. He also loved Naruto so much, and he couldn't wait to go back and see the both of them. Naruto would probably give him a hard time and most likely would never forgive him for being that reckless. Jiraiya thought. Jiraiya smiled as he drifted to sleep. Jiraiya woke up after only 2 hours of rest as he didn't want to waste any time. It was only about 10 p.m. and the moon was finally in the open sky. He packed all his belongings from camp and continued his journey back to the village. He was making really good time as he started to recognize the surrounding area, suggesting that he was only about 30 minutes away from the village now. As he approached closer to the village, he heard an ominous roar and screams getting louder and clearer and knew that there was trouble. He rushed to a tree top to get a better view. What he saw he could not believe. The Nine-Tails Fox was wreaking havoc upon the Leaf Village and Jiraiya's first thought was, Naruto. He ran as fast as he could but kept his sight on the Nine-Tails. He was still pretty far away from the village, far enough where the Nine-Tails Fox wasn't a threat to him. But Jiraiya was close enough to get a glimpse of a figure trying to fight the fox. Jiraiya thought to himself that who could be insane enough to fight the fox all by themselves. If that person wanted to live, Jiraiya would have to help him. Jiraiya still kept his eyes on the fox and figure and was surprised to see how fast the figure was. In fact, he was incredibly fast. The last time had seen someone that fast was Minato. Jiraiya wished he was close enough so he could tell who that figure was. When he got to the village, it was in shambles. Houses were trampled on by the demon fox, and villagers were running with their belongings in their arms trying to get as far as possible. There were some people trying to dig through the rubble hoping to either find their loved ones hoping they were still alive. Jiraiya stopped a leaf ninja that he didn't recognize to get some intel about what was going on. Jiraiya-sama. Thank goodness you're here. The Chunin exclaimed as he held his injured left arm. It was common for ninjas to recognize Jiraiya even if he didn't know them, since he was one of the Sannin after all. Are you okay? What happened here? Jiraiya asked. It's the Nine-Tails. It attacked the village. My team, they're all dead. I don't know where anyone. The Chunin's rambling was cut short by Jiraiya. Get a hold of yourself. You need to find a medic right now and try to regroup with another team. Do you know where the Hokage is right now? Jiraiya asked. He should near the Kyuubi. Jiraiya-sama, the Chunin replied hastily. Jiraiya thought nothing of it when the Chunin referred the Hokage as he, thinking that the Chunin was still in shock. As soon as he heard those words, he rushed to the demon fox. There was no way that Tsunade could handle the fox, he thought to himself. He made his way through the rubble and debris that the fox had left behind. It seemed the fox had been pushed out of the village. Far enough where the village wasn't in immediate danger. As Jiraiya ran through the village, he kept passing by groups of ninjas as they healed each other. Every time he passed by, each group would see him and chant his name as his mere presence brought hope and morale. Each time, he would ignore the chants as he was in a rush to help who he thought was Tsunade fighting the fox. It wasn't until he heard a certain voice call out his name, Jiraiya. As soon as he heard this voice, Jiraiya immediately came to a halt. He had goosebumps as he slowly turned his head towards this individual. When he finally gazed upon who it was no other than the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi in the flesh. Jiraiya was frozen as this wasn't possible. He thought maybe he was still asleep and that maybe this was just a dream. As he stood there, the third Hokage made his way towards Jiraiya. They finally came face to face and stood only an arm's length apart. "I am glad you're here. We could really use your help right now," Hiruzen said. Jiraiya couldn't think. All he could instinctively do was pull Hiruzen in for a hug and muster up the word, "Sensei." Hiruzen was confused but wouldn't deny a hug from his own student. Hiruzen slowly pulled away from the hug and told Jiraiya that they need to hurry to the Kyubi. Hiruzen told Jiraiya that the fox was teleported to the other side of the mountain that was outside of the village. Jiraiya nodded and the two of them sped off towards the fox, with a group of ninjas following behind. While they made their way to the Kyubi, Jiraiya finally realized what was going on. He knew that he had traveled back in time. Everything started to make more sense. The hotel that he woke up from was practically brand new. His wounds were healed. The third Hokage was slightly younger and alive. And that this was the night the demon fox was released to attack the village. He also came to a new realization. If this was the night the Kyubi attacked, then there was no way Tsunade was fighting the fox. He finally remembered the figure that was moving incredibly fast and realized that it really was Minato. He knew this was the night that Minato and Kushina had died. When that thought came to mind, he suddenly sped up his pace and Hiruzen followed suit. They arrived at the scene but a barrier had been placed, so no one could get inside. The Kyubi had been chained in Kushina's jutsu. Kushina and Minato were in front of the Kyubi with baby Naruto next to their side. This had confirmed to Jiraiya that he really did travel back in time. Minato made some ninja hand signs and shouted out the words Reaper Death Seal. Hiruzen and Jiraiya stared as they could do nothing to get inside the barrier. "Those hand signs, don't tell me." "Yes, it's the Reaper Death Seal," Hiruzen said out loud. As Jiraiya heard those words, he turned towards Minato and tried to run towards him hoping to stop him, but to no avail. The barrier could not be taken down so easily. The other ninjas who followed them were confused and asked what was wrong and why they couldn't get through. "It's Kushina's barrier. She put it up to keep the Kyubi from escaping," Hiruzen yelled. Minato could be seen with a new seal on his chest, signaling that the Reaper Death Seal had been used. Minato then continued to conjure up a little altar. It was the 8-sign seal. Jiraiya saw it and knew that Minato was going to seal the other half of the Kyubi inside baby Naruto. Jiraiya started banging his fist on the barrier to try and get Minato's attention and try to stop him. "No, don't do it, Minato," Jiraiya yelled out. Minato looked over and saw his sensei. He didn't say anything, but he was just happy to be able to see Jiraiya sensei before his last moments. Kushina was already badly hurt as she started coughing up blood. Minato noticed immediately and ran to her aid to comfort her, leaving baby Naruto as an easy target. The Kyubi took advantage of it and tried to attack baby Naruto while his parents were distracted. He swung his arms to try and pierce Naruto with his fingernails, but Minato and Kushina reacted fast enough to protect Naruto. Hiruzen and Jiraiya stared in despair as they could still do nothing. What they saw made their guts turn. Minato and Kushina were both pierced through their bodies by the Cubus nails. The Kyubi missed baby Naruto by merely inches. Minato could hear Jiraiya yell out his name in anger and despair. Minato made some hand signs and summoned Geratora, one of his frog summons. Jiraiya couldn't tell or hear what Minato was saying to Geratora, but it seemed important. That's when Jiraiya remembered that Geratora was a messenger and that he would pass on the keys to Jiraiya for Naruto's seal. Geratora accepted the key and then vanished in a poof of smoke. Kushina and Minato gave their last words to Naruto. Minato finished the jutsu. The fox disappeared and was now sealed inside Naruto. The barrier was now visible and started to dissipate into nothing. "The barrier. It's disappeared," Hiruzen yelled out loud. With the barrier gone, Hiruzen and Jiraiya rushed to Minato and Kushina. Jiraiya first checked Kushina's limp body to see if she was okay, and Hiruzen went to check on Minato's. "Kushina. Kushina." Jiraiya shook her body. Kushina slowly opened her eyes barely with enough energy to talk. she saw Jiraiya and smiled. "Jiraiya-sama," Kushina whispered, "get her to a hospital and heal her," Hiruzen ordered his men. Kushina continued to whisper to Jiraiya, "The child, promise me you'll take care of him, Jiraiya-sama. His name is Naruto, Minato, and I picked it from your novels." Jiraiya's tears started to fall from his cheeks, covering up his red tattoo as he heard these words. "I promise," was all he could muster up to say to Kushina's request. As Jiraiya waited for Kushina to reply back, all he heard was silence. Kushina's head was slumped down and Jiraiya knew that she was gone. Jiraiya started to choke down on his own tears as he couldn't stop this tragedy from happening. He could barely stand it. This was the second time he had to face reality that his dear student and his wife were gone again. Hiruzen slowly placed his hand on Jiraiya's back trying to comfort him. Hiruzen then picked up baby Naruto and carefully handed him to Jiraiya. Jiraiya looked at baby Naruto and couldn't believe how tiny he was. Knowing how great Naruto would one day be, he hugged Naruto close to his face, still trying to hold in his tears. Hiruzen then spoke. "I promise to do whatever it takes to protect Naruto, Jiraiya," Hiruzen said. Jiraiya looked up at Hiruzen and remembered how neglected Naruto was growing up. There was no way he was going to let Naruto grow up in that environment again. Even though Jiraiya couldn't protect Minato and Kushina the second time, it meant he was not going to abandon Naruto, he would rather die. "I am going to take Naruto in, I am his godfather, it is my responsibility and mine alone. I hope you will respect my request, Hokage-sama," Jiraiya demanded. Hiruzen didn't say anything, he just nodded his head in approval. There was no way he was going to deny that to Jiraiya after witnessing his student and his wife die. He did have one question though for Jiraiya. "Where will you take him?" "I don't know yet, but it will be far away," Jiraiya replied. After the funeral of Minato and Kushina, Jiraiya was able to get the keys to Naruto's seal from Geratora. Jiraiya put Naruto in a woven cloth and carried him on his back, just like he promised. He took Naruto in and set out on a journey to find a certain person. After a long month of taking care of a baby that he's never attempted before, while carrying him on his back, he finally found the person he was searching for. They were inside a small bar. And as Jiraiya stepped in with Naruto still on his back, he heard a loud voice coming from the back. "Damn it, I know you're cheating," a card dealer yelled. "You know damn well I am not cheating," the drunk woman yelled back. She started swaying and flopping her arms around trying to argue with the card dealer. As her arms started flopping around even harder, a few cards slipped out of her sleeves. Everybody at the table, including the entire bar, stopped what they were doing and looked at the cards that fell out. You could hear crickets chirping as the bar started to get heavy. Jiraiya face-palmed in secondhand embarrassment and then suddenly got angry at the woman. "Are you kidding me, Tsunade?" Jiraiya yelled. The drunken woman, better known as Tsunade, also known as one of the three Sannin, chirped her head at Jiraiya. She hiccuped and all she could say was, "Wed should run." Jiraiya and Tsunade were running as fast as they could from a mob of angry drunks. Baby Naruto kept crying as a normal baby would if it were being carried while running. You could see the anger in Jiraiya's face towards Tsunade. "I finally find you and this is what you're up to. I shouldn't have expected anything different. I don't know why I am even surprised." Jiraiya scolded Tsunade while also trying to calmly hush Naruto. "Yeah? Well, Tsunade couldn't think of a comeback since she was still drunk. Anyway, who's the baby?" Tsunade asked while still running. Jiraiya forgot that Tsunade wouldn't recognize Naruto since they haven't technically met yet. "Oh, right, his name is Naruto," Jiraiya nonchalantly replied. Tsunade just stared at Naruto and became irritated at Jiraiya. "Naruto, okay. And why the hell do you have a baby with you in the first place?" Tsunade's eyes widened. "Oh my goodness? Do you want to explain something to me?" Tsunade asked angrily. Jiraiya finally caught on what Tsunade was hinting. "What the F no? This isn't my child. Why would you think that?" Tsunade just winced at Jiraiya with another irritated look, the kind that would suggest, maybe because you're a pervert?" Jiraiya just rolled his eyes and they continued their escape. The trio finally made their escape and settled near a riverbank. Naruto was finally calm once Jiraiya held him in his arms. Jiraiya took out a pacifier from a makeshift baby bag that he had recently made. It was orange and had the Leaf Village symbol in the center. Tsunade took a peek and smiled at the innocent interaction between Jiraiya and Naruto. "He's cute," Tsunade said. She changed her tone to an irritated one and asked, "Who's the mom?" Jiraiya rolled his eyes again in annoyance. "If you must know, his mother is Kushina." Tsunade's eyes widened in shock. "No way, you stole the Jinchuriki's baby?" "No, I didn't steal him, I adopted him," Jiraiya replied. Tsunade was confused. Why would he have to adopt the Hokage and Jinchuriki's baby? "Tsunade, you and I barely visit the Leaf Village anymore. I am guessing you haven't gotten the news," Jiraiya said. Tsunade looked confused again and asked him what happened. Jiraiya continued to explain to her what had happened at the Leaf Village, and Tsunade had a single tear drop from her eyes. She was in disbelief and felt guilty that she wasn't there. I know, I should have been there too. Jiraiya comforted her. Kushina entrusted me to Naruto, so I am going to take care of him. Tsunade nodded her head and wiped her tears. So now what? What do you plan on doing? Naruto is the new Jinchuriki. He can't be safe with only you, Tsunade told Jiraiya. I know, and that's why I came to find you. I wanted to ask, will you help me? Jiraiya asked. Tsunade's eyes widened in shock. You want me to do what? Nah, no way. Oh come on. He needs a mother figure in his life. He just lost his mom. You want me, mind you, a drunk, to help take care of the new Jinchuriki? Tsunade asked. First of all, he has a name and it's Naruto, and second, yes, Jiraiya simply said, come on, it'll be fun. Tsunade just stared at Jiraiya as if he was going to convince her. She crossed her arms and asked, what's in it for me? Jiraiya wasn't ready for that question, but he was quick and smart. He walked closer to Tsunade and brushed her bangs back behind her ears. Isn't this what we've always wanted? You, me, and Jiraiya pointed his eyes at Naruto, hinting a baby. Tsunade blushed, turned completely red and quickly turned away in embarrassment. She twiddled her thumbs and was too shy to reply back. How about this? Let's just see how it goes. Okay. Jiraiya smoothly convinced Tsunade. She slowly turned back to Jiraiya to see a genuine smile on his face. She then turned her attention to Naruto and thought to herself, a baby huh? As her heart fluttered. Fine, only because he's so stinking cute, Tsunade finally convinced. Jiraiya's eyes widened in excitement and he started hopping up and down while cheering. Naruto started giggling and Jiraiya noticed, so he started cooing back at Naruto. You hear that, Naruto? Granny Tsunade is gonna join us. Jiraiya mistakenly called her what teenage Naruto would normally refer Tsunade as. Granny? Who you calling a granny, you old fart? Tsunade rebuffed. Jiraiya started laughing and it was contagious enough for Tsunade to start laughing as well. It's been almost a year since Tsunade and Jiraiya took in Naruto as their adopted son. He was being raised just like any other child, except occasionally he would be in bars, casinos, hot springs, and, okay, maybe not so common for an infant. But Naruto was loved and he was cared for. As soon as Naruto was able to grip items, Jiraiya congratulated him with his first toy, a tiny water balloon. Jiraiya had big plans for Naruto. He wanted Naruto to be able to hold his own. He knew that the Akatsuki would one day come for Naruto and try to extract the 9 tails. He needed Naruto to become strong in the case that Jiraiya and Tsunade were not able to protect him. Every day Jiraiya would play with Naruto and show him how to pop balloons with chakra. Whenever Jiraiya would pop a balloon, Naruto would giggle in amusement trying to imitate Jiraiya. Naruto wouldn't succeed, of course, since he's still an infant. Jiraiya always made sure to make his ninja classes fun for baby Naruto, but he would try to make it as natural for Naruto as much as possible. For example, Jiraiya would walk from the ground onto water and Naruto would try to follow and play with him, but every time Naruto followed, he would fall into the water. This made baby Naruto confused and irritated because he wanted to walk on water so he could play with Jiraiya and Tsunade. One day after Naruto's second birthday, Jiraiya and Tsunade were sparring on the river. Naruto wanted to play with them like he always does. So he decided to try and walk to them. When he got close to the water, he stopped and hesitated. He's dropped in the water many times and didn't want to get wet again. Jiraiya stopped Tsunade to take a look at Naruto, hoping he'd get it this time. Naruto finally took a step after a bit of encouragement from his foster parents. Naruto was able to walk on the water, but only for a split second, then he fell in the river. He cried as he got wet again for the millionth time. Jiraiya and Tsunade looked at each other and were ecstatic that Naruto finally made some progress. It was crazy to Jiraiya that Naruto was learning so quick. He really was a prodigy. After only a year of practice, Naruto was able to walk on water. He was only 3.5 years old. He still needed more practice because he still couldn't run on water. Every time he would try to run, the water surface would start to break, then swallow his feet, and he would trip into the river. By the time Naruto was 4 years old, he could run and walk on water like second nature. One night, Naruto came barging in excitedly into the hotel room to find Jiraiya. He told him, Raya, look. As he held the balloon in his hand, his face started to become red and veins started to pop in his neck, and the balloon bursted into pieces. All the water from the balloon fell onto the ground and Jiraiya's mouth dropped as well. Naruto started laughing hysterically and jumped in celebration. Jiraiya thought to himself, he didn't even use 2 hands like the teenage version did, it was just 1 hand. As a celebration, Jiraiya took Naruto out to get ramen. He also bought Naruto a new toy, but instead of a water balloon this time, He bought him a hollow rubber bouncy ball, like before with the balloon. Jiraiya showed Naruto how to pop the bouncy ball this time. Naruto could barely make the ball move. This proved to be a lot more difficult than he thought. Raya, I can't pop the ball no more. Naruto frowned. It's okay Naruto, this ball is harder and thicker, you can't do it the same like you did with the balloon, Jiraiya explained. Tsunade laughed at Naruto's comment and picked him up. Naruto, I believe in you, it might some time but don't give up okay? Naruto smiled and nodded after being comforted by Tsunade. Tsunade wanted to teach Naruto some techniques as well, but she was afraid he was too young to grasp medical jutsus just yet. She also had plans for Naruto for when he was older. The trio decided to camp at a nearby river. That seemed to be their favorite spots when they weren't lounging in spas or hotels. It was finally summertime and Naruto was almost 5 years old. Erg stupid ball. Naruto threw the ball across the grass in frustration, still not getting the hang of the technique. Raya, can you show me the ray gun again? Jiraiya popped his head out of the river water and gasped for air. Phew. This water is fresh. He stepped out of the river to grab the rubber ball and knelt down to Naruto's height. He handed the rubber ball back to Naruto and explained, it's called the Rasengan Naruto, not ray gun. Naruto crossed his arms and pouted at Jiraiya. Jiraiya smiled and continued, alright, I'll show you the ray gun again alright? Naruto smiled in excitement. Jiraiya placed his palms up in air started to form a ball above his hand. Naruto's eyes widened every time he saw the Rasengan. It was never going to get old. Naruto slowly reached his hand towards the Rasengan but Jiraiya pulled away and released chakra ball into thin air. Naruto was mad that Jiraiya didn't let Naruto touch the Rasengan, but he told him that he should touch it. Naruto was being stubborn but was curious why he wasn't allowed to touch it. Jiraiya sighed, but knew Naruto didn't know any better and that it was better to show him why. Jiraiya walked to a nearby tree trunk and yelled, Rasengan. As he thrusted it onto the tree completely shattered and obliterated in front of Naruto's eyes. Naruto finally grasped why it wasn't a good idea to touch a sharp ball of air. Jiraiya let Naruto study the Rasengan a bit longer until Naruto made a comment. It's not wobbly like the water balloon. Naruto tilted his head. Jiraiya's eyes lit up. Yes, exactly. And do you know why? Naruto shook his head no. Jiraiya continued to explain with a smile from cheek to cheek. You have to rotate it. Naruto sort of understood what he meant even though he's never heard the word rotate. He guessed maybe the word meant spin since the Rasengan spins in a circular motion. Naruto would continue studying the rubber ball, but he was too tired from using chakra all day. He had to think critically and try to figure out how to rotate his chakra instead of letting it bounce wildly like he let it before with the balloon. He was starting to lose hope and wondering if he should give up. A few days later, while watching Jiraiya and Tsunade spar, Tsunade used a common jutsu. She called out, Shadow Clone Justsu. And poof, there was another aberration like herself. Naruto was surprised by this and sat straight up while pointing at Tsunade. Whoa, Granny has a twin sister, Naruto said out loud. Tsunade started laughing and told Naruto that it was a jutsu that all ninjas use. Naruto asked Tsunade if she could teach him and Tsunade happily agreed. She was happy that she could finally teach Naruto something so basic. But it was special to her. For the whole week, Naruto would copy the same hand signs as Tsunade but would fail miserably. Each clone he made were subpar and straight up weak. They barely lasted 2 seconds each time he summoned them. Tsunade was surprised that a 4.5-year-old could even still summon anything at all. If anything, Naruto was excelling extremely fast for his age. But Naruto wasn't satisfied. For an entire month, this was all he focused on. He had forgotten all about trying to pop the rubber ball it seemed, and it made Jiraiya quite sad. Tsunade would poke and make fun of Jiraiya now that she stole his thunder. After one more week of practice, Naruto finally made a successful clone. The clone didn't last too long though since Naruto was depleted of chakra. He had been practicing all day and night because he was getting so close. The next morning, Naruto woke up before Tsunade and Jiraiya. Shadow Clone Justsu, Naruto exclaimed. A perfect replica of Naruto was standing right in front of him. Naruto smiled and was in awe of his accomplished clone. He yelled in laughter and joy which woke up Tsunade. She got up to see what the commotion was about and peeked to see Naruto and his new clone. Alright, do you want to go and play fetch? I have a rubber ball we can throw around, Naruto asked his clone. I know you have a rubber ball, I am you, the clone replied with a joke. Naruto and his clone started laughing hysterically at their joke. And Tsunade had a single tear after witnessing something so sad. She realized that Naruto had been working so hard to learn that Justsu because he was lonely. He didn't have any friends his age to play with and he was seeking for a friendship. Naruto and his clone ran into the forest to play hide and seek, the game that Jiraiya and Tsunade taught Naruto. To Naruto, It was just a children's game, but there was always a reason to what Jiraiya did. In the case of an attack or emergency, Jiraiya would tell Naruto to play hide and seek, so he would seek shelter. Luckily, there hasn't been any events that required them to play this game. It's been a pretty peaceful 4.5 years raising Naruto. Naruto finally turned 5 years old, and a month later it was Jiraiya's birthday. After a full day's worth of fun and events, Naruto had Jiraiya and Tsunade sit down. He told Jiraiya and Tsunade that he had a surprise for them since it was Jiraiya's birthday. They were both surprised since Naruto has never done something like this, but it piqued their interest. "Okay. Close your eyes. I'll tell you when to open, okay?" Naruto requested. They both smiled and closed their eyes like Naruto said. The both of them wondered what present Naruto had made. Maybe it was a drawing or a makeshift toy that Naruto made. As they kept their eyes shut, they were startled to hear a light whistle come from Naruto, but it wasn't a whistle that came from someone's mouth. It was a bit high-pitched and it sounded very similar. "Okay. Open your eyes," Naruto demanded nicely. When they opened their eyes, they were shocked. Shock doesn't even begin to describe what they felt. Maybe it was proud. Possibly scared. Only they would ever truly know how they felt that day. 5-year-old Naruto was holding a little Rasengan the size of a golf ball in his palm. He had finally did it. After practicing for 4 years, he finally succeeded. After a moment of silence, Jiraiya grabbed Naruto by the waist in joy and started spinning him around. "You did it. You actually did it," Jiraiya praised Naruto. "This is quite scary," Tsunade whispered under her breath. She was still proud of Naruto though. They continued the night with cakes and food and alcohol for the adults. She woke up and yawned as she stretched her arms out. She turned to her left to find her master's pet pig, Tun-Tun, still sleeping. She smiled at Tun-Tun and petted her head, then got up to wash her face in the restroom. She came back to the bedroom and realized that her master wasn't in there. She then had an irritated look on her face. I bet she's at that damn bar betting her money away," Shizune said out loud. She remembered yesterday that Tsunade was eyeing the bar. Shizune had to drag her master to stop her from entering the bar. "Oh come on, I was only going for a little drink," Tsunade lied. After remembering that memory, Shizune woke up Tun-Tun and told her that they were going to go fetch their master at the bar. When she got the bar, it was empty to her surprise. The only person there was the bartender cleaning some empty beer glasses. She walked up to the bartender and asked him if he had seen a woman wearing a green shirt with a diamond on her forehead. "Oh, I've seen her all right, and if she knows any better, she'd better never come back." The bartender spit a loogie on the ground. Shizune facepalmed and sighed. Knowing that Tsunade most likely cheated someone and booked it, she asked the bartender nicely if he'd seen which direction Tsunade ran to, and the bartender pointed south. Along the way, Shizune saw a group of angry mobs making their way back to the bar and knew those were the people chasing Tsunade. That gave her the impression that at least she was heading the right direction towards her master. Shizune grew tired of searching for her master, going from bar to bar, casino to casino. On her journey to search for her master, she had heard rumors about the Leaf Village being attacked by the Kyuubi. It wasn't long after that she decided to go back to the Leaf Village to check on things. The third Hokage had taken the role as the new Hokage now, so she went to visit him. She asked him if she had seen Tsunade, but unfortunately he had not. Shizune continued to ask how he was doing and if he stayed in contact with Lord Jiraiya. "The last time I saw Jiraiya was about a year ago. He visited when the Kyuubi attacked," Hiruzen said. He was about to mention that Jiraiya took in Naruto, but that was top secret information. Shizune thanked the Hokage and left his office. She decided to stay in the Leaf Village for a month to rest. She was tired of moving around without her master. During that month, she heard rumors about Jiraiya from other ninjas and even civilians. "Yeah, I heard he took in the new Jinchuriki, but I don't know how true that is," one ninja said to another. "Bro, Shinori told me that he saw Jiraiya-sama holding it at the funeral," the other ninja whispered loudly. "Oh my goodness, we all know Shinori is a damn liar. When has he ever told the truth? The man says he has 3 wives, each from different villages." The 2 ninjas laughed and went their way. Shizune pondered the thought of Jiraiya actually taking in a child, especially the Jinchuriki. She thought to herself that he would never do that. He's too busy peeping on women. Shizune continued her journey to find Tsunade, each time getting closer. And sometimes it felt she completely lost her track. 5 years had passed by in total and she had already given up by the 4th year. She decided that it was time to go on her own path. That she didn't need a master anymore during those 5 years. She had grown into a better woman and had forgiven her master. She thought to herself that maybe she had held Tsunade back. Tsunade had a traumatizing past, and maybe she deserved to have fun and enjoy life. Tun-Tun was sad. Even to this day she would beg Shizune to continue the search, but each time Shizune said that she didn't want to bother Lady Tsunade anymore. Tun-Tun grew tired and angry and ran away and told Shizune she would find Lady Tsunade herself. Shizune tried to stop Tun as she chased her through the woods. She lost Tun for a few days but heard a rustling through the bushes nearby. She took her time to sneak up on the bush, but when she jumped out, there was nothing there. Naruto was playing with his clone like he usually does. Naruto would mimic Jiraiya's fighting style, and the clone would mimic Tsunade's. He practiced like this almost every day by the river near the forest. That particular day, he heard a bush rustling nearby. Naruto and his clone took a fighting stance, thinking this would be their first threat. Jiraiya and Tsunade weren't around since Naruto likes to practice privately. Suddenly, a tiny pig jumps out of the bush. Naruto stared blankly and so did the tiny little pig. Naruto had his clone disappear as he deemed this situation not a threat. Naruto studied the pig for a few seconds and noticed it was wearing a red dress and a pearled necklace. This image made Naruto laugh hysterically as he had never seen such a bizarre animal. Naruto dropped to the ground from laughing so hard and held his stomach. Tun grew angry and yelled out. "Hey, what's so dang funny, Whiskers?" Naruto screamed in horror. "Oh my god, you can speak? Aw." Tun got more angry at Naruto. "Yes I can, and I can understand you too, you rude little boy." Naruto started to feel bad. He never meant any harm. He decided to make amends with Tun and apologize. Tun reluctantly accepted his apology. Naruto noticed that Tun looked a bit beat up. Her clothes were dirty and she had marks on her face from dirt. "So what's your name?" Naruto asked. "Oh, my name? It's Tun," she replied. Naruto almost spoke out loud again but remembered to keep his mouth shut. He was thinking to himself, so it even has a name. Naruto then introduced himself to Tun. "Nice to meet you, Tun. My name's Naruto Uzumaki," as he pointed to himself with his thumb. After the introduction, Tun's stomach started to growl and Naruto noticed. "Ya hungry? Come on, I'll get you some food. We're camped not too far from here." Naruto invited her. She was a bit skeptical and it could be seen on her face. "Don't worry, I won't eat ya," Naruto laughed. She hesitated for a second but she hadn't eaten in 3 days. Naruto asked if he could pick her up since she looked like she barely had any energy left to even walk. She agreed and Naruto scooped her up in his arms. As soon as Naruto picked her up, a woman jumped out of the bushes. Tun realized it was Shizune and her soul left her body. Naruto stared at Shizune. And Shizune stared back at Naruto and she also noticed Tun in his arms. As soon as they locked eyes, Shizune instantly got angry from chasing Tun for 3 whole days. "You stupid little pig. Get over here now," Shizune screamed. Tun screeched in fear and told Naruto, "Run." Naruto didn't hesitate and started sprinting down the riverbank. Shizune gave chase and wasn't too far behind Naruto, she thought to herself. "This little brat is pretty fast for a kid. He's lucky I barely have any energy left," as her stomach growled. She then got angry at that thought and yelled at Tun, "When I get my hands on you I am going to turn you into soup, you little pig." Tun grew even more scared and asked Naruto if he could speed it up. Naruto was running as fast as he possibly could and knew he couldn't run any faster. Shizune was starting to pick up her pace and was almost close enough to grab Naruto by his collar. As she reached for Naruto, he thought quickly and jumped onto the river and started running on the water surface. Shizune was caught by surprise and thought, "What the hell? This kid can run on water." Shizune then jumped on the water as well, still chasing Naruto. Naruto didn't think that a ninja was chasing them, so he had to think of a better strategy. He ran to the other side of the river and into the forest, hoping to lose Shizune. As Naruto jumped from branch to branch, surprising Shizune even more, she also jumped from branch to branch. This went on for a few minutes until Naruto was close to his destination. As Naruto jumped out of the forest and into the sunlight, he yelled out, "Raya! Granny!" Tsunade and Jiraiya stopped what they were doing as they turned their heads towards Naruto, and saw him jumping through the air. They ran towards Naruto sensing fear in his face. As soon as they got to Naruto, Tsunade noticed Tun cuddled into a ball with her eyes closed. "Tun?" Tsunade exclaimed. Tun heard her voice and opened her eyes, and in disbelief she whispered, "Lady Tsunade?" It took Tun a while to realize that it really was her master. With little energy left, she jumped out of Naruto's arms and into Tsunade's. She was ecstatic to finally find her master. "What are you doing here?" Tsunade happily exclaimed at Tun. Tun was about to explain the situation when suddenly, Shizune jumped out of the forest and into the air yelling out, "I got you now, you little piggy." Shizune was jumping straight into the group and couldn't stop herself. She was at max velocity going straight to Tsunade. They crashed and fell to the ground with Shizune landing right on top of Tsunade. Shizune rubbed her head from hitting Tsunade but she still hadn't realized who she was. Shizune opened her eyes, and to her fear, she saw her master. "You little bitch!" Tsunade screamed at Shizune. At this realization, Shizune ran as fast as she could from Tsunade, and now Shizune had become the one being chased. Shizune and Tun Tun were scarfing down the food that Naruto had made for them. Naruto insisted in cooking instead since he was the one who caused the trouble. It wasn't the best cooked food, but it was a lot better than any other 5-year-old could make. Naruto learned how to cook since they camped out so much. He learned about herbs and medicine from Tsunade, and learned how to grill meat from Jiraiya. He had an unlimited amount of ingredients out in the forest, and as a hungry little Jinchuriki, he was always experimenting with food. He made his signature fish soup for Shizune and Tun Tun. Usually, he would add a pack of ramen noodles, but they hadn't gone shopping for a few weeks, so he didn't have any on hand. The soup by itself was still good with some rice on the side though. After their stomachs full and a sigh of relief, Shizune and Tun Tun apologized to Tsunade and especially to Naruto. Tsunade explained to Shizune and Tun Tun about Naruto, and why she has been MIA for the past 5 years. Tsunade was disappointed that it took Shizune that long to find her. Especially after she explained to Shizune that she left encrypted messages along the way. Tsunade also apologized that she had been gone for so long. But it was necessary to protect Naruto. Shizune completely understood now but was still a bit sad. After such a long time, she had finally decided not to follow in her master's footsteps. She was still happy of course to reunite with Tsunade again. But she was torn between two worlds. She explained that to Tsunade and she also understood. Tsunade continued to tell her that she has dedicated herself to Naruto and Jiraiya, and that if Shizune wanted to join them, it would make her tremendously happy. Tun Tun was definitely going to stay with her master, no doubt about that. Shizune on the other hand, told Tsunade that she had to think about it, but she would stay with them for at least a week to make her decision. During that week, Naruto would not leave Shizune's side. He really liked her being there and liked having a new face to the group. He talked her ears off about their adventures with Jiraiya and Tsunade, and he asked Shizune how she knew Tsunade. She explained that Tsunade was her master and that she taught her skills of being a ninja. Naruto was excited and asked Shizune if Jiraiya and Tsunade were considered his masters then. Well, it depends. Do they take care of you? Shizune asked innocently. Naruto exclaimed. Do they teach you ninja skills? Do they scold you? Shizune asked. Naruto laughed. Yeah, all the time, but that's because sometimes I am naughty. Shizune laughed and said, then they're definitely your masters as well. Naruto laughed with her and asked if she wanted to go play, and Shizune happily accepted. She really liked Naruto. He was such a bright and positive kid. He was also really smart for his age, and Shizune knew that Tsunade and Jiraiya were doing great raising Naruto. Naruto took Shizune's hand and basically dragged her to his favorite spot by the river. He let go of her hands once they arrived and asked her. Shizune, do you know how to make shadow clones? I do. Shizune then summoned a shadow clone. Want me to teach you, Naruto? Shizune was willing to give him pointers. Naruto shook his head. No, I am okay. I just wanted to play. That's why I asked. Shadow clone Jutsu. Naruto then summoned his own clone. Shizune's mouth dropped. She couldn't believe a 5-year-old had mastered the shadow clone. Naruto then encouraged her to play with him. He suggested playing tag and Shizune agreed. Naruto wanted to hide first. The rules are simple. You just have to catch the real me, and then we will switch after, Naruto said. Shizune nodded and Naruto ran into the woods. It didn't last long until Shizune caught the real Naruto. AWH man, that wasn't even 5 minutes, Naruto groaned. Fair is fair, Naruto. Now you have to chase me, and don't think it'll take it easy on you, Shizune teased. Naruto was excited because he knew it'd be a real challenge now. Up until this point, he always played hide and seek with only his clones, and it got quite easy since he knew himself better than anyone, but now that a new player had entered, he was going to go all out. Shizune sped off into the forest and Naruto counted to 30. It took Naruto 20 minutes until he actually spotted Shizune, but the game wasn't over yet. Now he had to chase her and tag her. He and his clone started chasing Shizune, but she was too quick. This was too easy for Shizune. She barely broke a sweat. This went on for another 20 minutes and Naruto grew tired and knew he needed to come up with a new plan instead of just chasing her. Are you tired, Naruto? Want to give up? Shizune teased. No way. I've got something up my sleeves. I am going to get you, Shizune, Naruto said while showing his biceps. Shizune laughed and ran off while Naruto gave chase again. After a few minutes of chasing, Naruto thought to himself, now. Hey Shizune. Look behind you. I am so close, Naruto said. Shizune looked behind her knowing that he was lying but wanted to amuse him anyways. Huh? There's no way you're ever going to catch me, Naruto. After saying that, she turned to look forward again and somehow, Naruto was right in front of her. He sucker punched her in the stomach, and poof, a cloud of white smoke appeared, signaling it was her clone. The real Shizune that was hiding somewhere else received the memory from the clone that just disappeared. Shizune sat up in surprise and thought, when the heck did he get in front of my clone? Suddenly, she heard some rustling bushes nearby and knew it was Naruto. She then heard another bush rustling on the other side as well and knew it was Naruto's clone. They both jumped out of the bushes and Shizune jumped to dodge his headbutt from both sides. The two Naruto's heads collided and poof, both of the Narutos disappeared. No freaking way, Shizune said out loud. She finally realized how much of a prodigy Naruto really was. She realized that Naruto had been using multiple shadow clone jutsus this whole time. That's how Shizune's clone was caught in the first place, and that's how Naruto suddenly appeared in front of her clone previously. Shizune started hearing tree branches and bushes rustling from all directions at this point and knew that Naruto received the memory information from the two clones that had just disappeared. Naruto knew where the real Shizune was. She started to run away but then saw three Narutos chasing her from behind. She shrieked from fear and goosebumps started to climb up her back as Narutos started to laugh and giggle. Now there were 4 Narutos, then 5. Now there was a total of 8 Narutos chasing her. Shizune stopped in her tracks as 3 more Narutos appeared in front of her way. 2 more Narutos showed up, totaling 13 of them. The real Naruto finally stepped out of the shadows with an evil grin on his face. "Give up, Shizune, we have you surrounded," Naruto yelled out. "Never. You'll have to kill me." If Shizune started laughing at the fact how much in character she was getting into while playing with Naruto. She coughed to clear her throat and then went back to character. "You'll have to kill me if you want me." "Very well then, get her minions." Naruto pointed and demanded his shadow clones. All the Narutos roared as they charged towards Shizune. They all jumped on her and started to tickle her every. Okay. I give up, I surrender RRRR, Shizune exclaimed in laughter. "You didn't tell me that Naruto could use the shadow clone Jutsu," Shizune asked Tsunade and Jiraiya. Naruto continued playing with his one clone nearby as the adults spoke in privacy sipping on tea. Tsunade and Jiraiya smiled in pride as they knew how proud they were of Naruto. Wait until you see his other jutsu that I taught him. Naruto, come here for a second," Jiraiya exclaimed like a proud father. "Oh, I've seen it all right, he really threw me off with that one," Shizune continued. Naruto came over and Shizune asked Naruto if he could show us his cool jutsu again. Naruto groaned and said, I wanted to keep it a surprise for Raya and Granny though, and besides, it takes a lot of my chakra." Shizune was confused that Naruto said he wanted it to be a surprise, wondering if they were talking about the same jutsu. Naruto then said out loud, "Multi-shadow clone jutsu." 10 Narutos appeared in a poof of smoke. "What the F?" Tsunade and Jiraiya spat out their tea and blurted out. Shizune realized they were all talking about different jutsus. "Wait, if this isn't the jutsu that you were talking about, then which one was it, Jiraiya-sama?" Jiraiya sighed. "Naruto, could you show Shizune please?" Naruto had his clones disappear and then opened up his palm. He then yelled out, "Rasengan." Then Shizune spat out her tea, getting surprised by Naruto once again. "I was waiting to surprise you and Granny about the shadow clones. I've been watching you too and only realized when you summoned more than one shadow clone, so I wanted to try it out too," Naruto explained to Jiraiya. He then continued to explain that that was how he originally completed the training for the Rasengan as well. Once he learned to summon multiple shadow clones, he realized he could learn quicker by making all of them practice at the same time. He said it cut his practice shorter and made more time for playing and cooking. They were all shocked that a 5-year-old figured this out on his own. Jiraiya remembered that teenage version Naruto learned this, but it wasn't even on his own account. Maybe spending 24 hours with 2 master ninjas made Naruto smarter and think more critical, he thought. Jiraiya finally realized that Naruto was ready. "Naruto, it's time to start to really train." It's been an entire month since Shizune and Tun reunited with Tsunade and joined Naruto and Jiraiya. Shizune kept insisting that she would leave a week from now. But it's turned into 2 weeks, then 3, and now a month. Everyone loved her company though, since she was a great asset to the team. And that she was a great babysitter. Jiraiya or Tsunade could go shopping and come back to base without feeling some type of anxiety that Naruto wasn't fully protected. Most of the times, Tsunade would just send Shizune to do the shopping though, since she was better at spending money. At least that was the excuse she gave to Shizune, now that she finally had her assistant back. She was more than happy to boss her around a little bit. Shizune didn't mind it though, she kind of missed this relationship with Tsunade. It wasn't toxic if both parties were willing to cooperate. Shizune kept telling Tsunade that if they were planning to camp here longer and wanted to save money, they would have to spend more money. Tsunade asked if Shizune had any ideas of how to do that, and Shizune said yes. "First, we need to build a cabin. I can't believe you guys have been sleeping in tents this entire time," Shizune said. "We're ninjas, it's something we're used to doing," Tsunade replied. I agree, maybe you and Jiraiya-sama might be comfortable, but what about Naruto? He's only going to get bigger and will need his own privacy eventually. Besides, I can see a million patched holes in the tent. Shizune rebuttal. Tsunade agreed and was glad Shizune was her assistant. After all, that was her job. Tsunade then asked how they were going to build a cabin. Shizune said they needed to buy tools so they could chop down trees and make them into planks. Jiraiya overheard their conversation and butted in. We building a cabin? Awesome. It was starting to get cramped in the tent, Jiraiya said, and Shizune looked at Tsunade as if saying, I told you so. Tsunade rolled her eyes and Jiraiya continued. Let me and Naruto do the chopping. He's going to start his training anyways. It'd be nice for him to start building some muscle before his actual training. Everyone agreed with Jiraiya, but Tsunade said not to work him too hard. She said she would do the heavy lifting and Jiraiya said he would do that as well since he was chivalrous. Tsunade rolled up her sleeves and flexed her muscles. Don't worry, Jiraiya. We both know who does the heavy lifting around here. I insist. Jiraiya became embarrassed since he knew there was truth behind that comment. So that's how we're going to save money? By building a cabin? I might not be an expert, but it seems we're only going to spend money at this point, Tsunade commented. That's not all, Tsunade-sama. We're going to build a farm and a garden. A forest can only supply you for so long until nothing grows back anymore. Have you guys even reforested after harvesting your herbs and ingredients inside the forest? Shizune asked the two. Jiraiya and Tsunade looked at each other and clenched their teeth, signaling they haven't. Shizune shook her head in disappointment. She continued saying that they would buy some chickens, and they would also build a fish farm by the river. They could also buy rabbits since they were cheap to buy, feed, and they made a lot babies. That's how they would get their protein. As for gardening, they could separate it into sections. One for ingredients and one for herbs, medicine. Shizune said they were lucky up to this point that Naruto hasn't gotten any serious illnesses or injuries, and that the Kyuubi inside him can't prevent deadly diseases. At least she didn't think so. I see how this could help us in the long run, Jiraiya stated. 3 major things. 1 house equals stability, which allows us to rest after training. 2 farm equals food, and that means less energy spent on hunting and more energy for training. And lastly, 3 medicine means no one gets sick and that gives us more training. I love it. It had seemed Jiraiya was set on training Naruto seriously, but if there's one thing Jiraiya remembered from before, is that teenage Naruto loved training and always asked for it. He doesn't see why this Naruto version wouldn't. With the plan finalized, they set out to the store nearby to buy tools and materials. There was one slight issue. That tiny store nearby didn't have everything they needed. This was going to cause an issue in the long run. Shoot. What are we gonna do now? Shizune was finally stuck. She didn't imagine this to occur. The 3 adults pondered and thought of a solution. That's when Naruto made a comment. Man, if only there was a bigger store. That's when it clicked to Jiraiya. Why don't we make a trip to the Leaf Village? Their base camp wasn't too far from the village, only about 4 days by ninja running. By carriage and horse was 2.5 days. It took them 6 days to get to the Leaf Village since they weren't in a hurry, and also due to the fact they had Naruto. Jiraiya and Naruto ran on top of the tree branches while the rest ran on the road. This was already part of Naruto's cardio training and to keep his eyes open. When they got to the Leaf Village gates, Naruto was shocked at how huge they were. He had never been to one of the villages, only small towns, so they could keep a small profile since Jiraiya and Tsunade were famous. They were on their way to a hotel and Naruto pointed at a restaurant that caught his eye and nose. Hey, you've got great taste, Naruto, Jiraiya said as he stared at the restaurant in nostalgia. They entered the restaurant and the burly owner said, Welcome to Ichiraku Ramen. What can I get you, kid? Jiraiya suggested the classic ramen that teenage Naruto used to get. When Naruto finished the entire bowl to himself, he exclaimed that that was the best ramen noodle he had ever had. Hands down. The owner was happy to hear and gave Naruto a free ramen coupon as a gift. Everyone thanked the owner and made their way to the hotel, but when they were about to enter the doors, 2 Anbu ninjas dropped in front of them. The Hokage has requested you and Tsunade-sama, one of them said. His mask was a fox with red whiskers with red mascara. He also carried a katana on his back and had gray hair for a young-looking man. The group made their way to their summons and into the Hokage's office. Ah, Jiraiya, it's nice to see you again. The 3rd Hokage greeted and then noticed Naruto. Don't tell me this is Naruto Uzumaki, he's gotten quite big. Naruto was a bit shy and hid behind Tsunade. Tsunade assured Naruto that the Hokage was a good man. That made Naruto feel better and he came to the front to meet Hiruzen. Yeah, I am Naruto, it's nice to meet you, Hokage? Naruto questioned the mon's name while looking back at Jiraiya for an answer. The Hokage laughed. Please, you may refer me as Hiruzen. Jiraiya butted in and said, You can call him Gigi, Naruto. Jiraiya bursted into laughter and Naruto started laughing as well while he pointed at Hiruzen calling him Gigi. Hiruzen didn't mind and smiled, as long as the boy was happy and comfortable around him. So why did you summon us, sensei? Jiraiya asked. Naruto was surprised that such an elderly man like Hiruzen could be Jiraiya's sensei. That meant to Naruto that Hiruzen was most likely very strong. That made Naruto have more respect for Hiruzen and like him more. Well, the word of the day was that both my students were in town. I won't have you two stay at just any hotel, please. Won't you stay at my residence? Hiruzen invited. Out of humility, Jiraiya and Tsunade said they couldn't just barge in on his privacy and respectfully declined, even if it would save them some penny. Naruto was even more surprised to hear that not only was Hiruzen Jiraiya's sensei, but also Tsunade. Upon hearing this, Naruto wanted to hear more about Hiruzen. Raya, Granny, can we please stay at Gigi's place? Please, Naruto begged. Hiruzen smiled at Naruto's innocence. The two Sannin couldn't say no anymore, mainly because they knew Naruto would just complain the whole week if they denied this. They happily accepted the Hokage's invitation and made their way to his residence. On their way there, Naruto grabbed Hiruzen's hand, which surprised him. He looked down to see Naruto, which had a huge smile on his face. Hiruzen smiled back and they walked together while locking hands the whole way. Gigi, are you really strong too? Naruto asked Hiruzen. Gee, I don't know, I am not young like I used to be, Hiruzen jokingly said. But you're the Hokage. Raya says that only the strongest can be the Hokage, Naruto replied. He's being humble, Naruto. He could probably still hold his own against me and Granny Tsunade at the same time, Jiraiya interrupted. Woa, was all Naruto could say upon hearing this from Jiraiya. Jiraiya, Tsunade, Shizune and Tun went shopping while Hiruzen volunteered to watch Naruto. Gigi, are there any fun places to see in the Leaf Village? Naruto said while jumping around. Although Hiruzen was old, he really enjoyed Naruto's optimistic vibes and outgoing nature. He decided to take Naruto sightseeing around the village. Naruto was having a blast, especially when he asked if they could go back to Ichiraku Ramen so he could use his coupon. If you're the Hokage's guest, then you eat free, the owner told Naruto with a smile. Wow. Thanks. I am Naruto, by the way. What's your name, mister? Naruto asked. Tucci, it's nice to meet you again, Naruto, he said. Naruto was happy that Tucci remembered him from the day before. He could tell this was a special restaurant that really cared about his customers. Naruto and Hiruzen continued sightseeing and went to rest at a park to eat a popsicle. Two individuals noticed the Hokage and approached him to greet him. Oh my. Well, if it isn't Itachi and Sasuke Uchiha, how are you boys doing? Hiruzen greeted back. Naruto and Sasuke looked at each other and noticed they were the same age. Naruto was a bit shy and hid behind Hiruzen, but kept his eye open. Sasuke did the same to Itachi, his older brother. Itachi smiled at this and asked if they wanted to go play at the playground by themselves while Itachi and Hiruzen had a conversation. The boys nodded and showed their true intentions. Hey, my name's Naruto Uzumaki, you? He asked. Sasuke, Uchiha, he said shyly. Naruto's eyes lit up and giggled. Hey, our surnames start with the same characters. Sasuke's eyes also lit up and he giggled as well. Hey, you're right. The two little boys then ran to the playgrounds after breaking the ice between each other. So where do you live, Naruto? Asked Sasuke. I live by a river about 6 days from here, Naruto replied. That's awesome. What about you? Naruto asked. I live just outside the village. My brother and I came to do some grocery shopping, Sasuke replied. So what do you want to play? Well, I usually play tag by myself, but we can play it together if you want, Naruto smiled. Sasuke thought it was kind of funny that Naruto played tag by himself, and that it should even be possible to do that. Nonetheless, Sasuke agreed to play since it sounded fun. Alright, the rules are simple, all you have to do is find and tag the real me, Naruto explained. What do you mean the real you? Sasuke asked in confusion. As soon as he asked Naruto, Naruto summoned 3 shadow clones. Sasuke was caught by surprise and was amazed. You can use the multi-shadow clone jutsu? Sasuke asked. Are you going to summon yours so we can play? Naruto innocently asked. Sasuke told Naruto that he didn't know how to, and that he has only been practicing the shadow clone jutsu but hasn't succeeded. Oh, well that's okay, we can play something else then, Naruto said. Sasuke agreed and they went on to play other children games. Sasuke and Itachi said their goodbyes to the Hokage and Naruto and went to do their grocery shopping. Did you have fun? Itachi asked Sasuke. Yeah, I did. He was so cool, he could use the multi-shadow clone jutsu. Sasuke admired. Huh, you don't say. What did you say his name was again? Itachi asked. Oh, it's Naruto Uzumaki. Our surnames start with the same character. Sasuke giggled, remembering the joke Naruto mentioned. Naruto Uzumaki The Naruto group spent their week at the Leaf Village buying whatever supplies they needed. They bought a horse and a carriage and Shizune asked if they could even afford it. Jiraiya assured Shizune that they could. After all, Jiraiya made tons of money from his novels. They also bought all the tools and items necessary to build the cabin. It only took them 3 days to get back to their base. It could have been shorter, but they had to take detours since it was their first time using the carriage. Once they unloaded everything from the carriage, it was time for Naruto's training. He was beyond stoked to start. He wanted to surprise Sasuke even more for when they met and played again. Jiraiya showed Naruto how to swing an axe to chop down trees. Naruto must have cut down at least 5 trees a day using his shadow clones. After cutting the tree, he had to split them in half to turn them into planks. After 2 weeks of cutting, they finally had enough wood to make their cabin and fences. It took about a month of non-stop work to build the cabin from scratch. It had an open living room with a kitchen and fireplace as well as 3 separate rooms. It also had an outdoor kitchen on the side for butchering meat. They made an outhouse to use as a restroom, and they had a fence that surrounded their garden which was connected to the cabin. It took another 2 weeks to finish building a fence for their farm animals. They used chicken fence to fence in the chicks and rabbits. They also made a contraption at the river so it could automatically lure fish and trap them. From there, they could transfer the fish to a separate area that they had fenced off in the water to breed. Now that they had a better living condition, it was time for Naruto to start his actual ninja training with Jiraiya and Tsunade. Alright Naruto, I want you to give me everything you've got. I want to see what you know so far, Tsunade said with Jiraiya by her side. Tsunade summoned a shadow clone that would be Naruto's opponent. The fight began with Naruto summoning 6 shadow clones. They rushed in to attack her and she easily dodged every single kick and punch. Naruto then threw a high kick and another clone threw a low kick. She easily dodged it by stepping back, but it seemed Naruto was leading her to the river. She jumped into the river even if she knew that Naruto led her there. She was curious what Naruto had in mind, as they fought on the water surface. One of the clones came kicking from under the water aiming for Tsunade's chin. She saw it coming from a mile away and caught Naruto's foot then tossed him to the side. They fought for a few more minutes until Naruto was clearly gassed. Jiraiya called the fight to a cease since they didn't want Naruto to get hurt for the next training. He was a bit bruised from the light punches that Tsunade threw at him, but it was nothing he couldn't handle. She walked over to him to heal him with some medical ninja jutsus. Kid, that was fantastic. Jiraiya praised Naruto. You were copying Jiraiya's taijutsu. Tsunade told Naruto. It's good to have a base, but you should mimic someone else's style Naruto. Why do you think I was able to read all your moves? Who do you think I've been sparring with for the last 5 years? Naruto hung his head low after Tsunade scolded him. She felt bad that she said that, but Naruto needed to hear this. Naruto, I am not mad at you. All I am saying is you should think a little more critical. You are tremendously smart, and that's the reason why you were able to mimic Jiraiya's style in the first place. No other kid can learn a style by simply just watching. Don't get upset though, if you used that style on anybody else, they definitely would have lost. Tsunade gave a bit of encouragement. Jiraiya butted in to change the subject. Alright, Naruto, why don't we learn some jutsus? Naruto's eyes lit up. Yeah. And Granny? Tsunade looked at Naruto to listen to his upcoming question. Can you teach me how to heal wounds too? Of course Naruto, I would love to. Her eyes started glistening as she heard those words from Naruto. Thanks for watching.